Hello, everyone. Today, we delve into one of the most brutal stories in modern business history. It's a story about power, betrayal, and public humiliation. Imagine pouring your entire soul into creating something, nurturing it from a garage startup into a global phenomenon, only to be told by the very people you hired that you are no longer welcome. Imagine being publicly exiled from your own kingdom. This was the reality for Steve Jobs in 1985. At just 30 years old, the co-founder of Apple Computer was unceremoniously fired. It was a fall from grace so spectacular that it became a legend. But this story isn't about the fall, it's about what happens after you hit the ground. It's about the mindset required to stand up, dust yourself off, and build an even greater legacy. We will go inside the mind of a young, heartbroken, and furious Steve Jobs to understand how he transformed his greatest failure into his most profound success. This is the mind story of how losing everything can set you free. To understand the betrayal, we have to understand the relationship at its heart. In 1983, Apple was growing fast, and Jobs knew he needed a seasoned executive to help manage the company. He set his sights on John Sculley, the brilliant marketing CEO of Pepsi-Cola. Jobs famously lured Sculley with one of the most legendary lines in business history. Do you want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life, or do you want to come with me and change the world? Sculley came. For a time, they were a dynamic duo. Sculley was the experienced adult, the operational expert. Jobs was the visionary, the passionate, and often difficult product guru. But their personalities were fundamentally different. Sculley was a corporate strategist who believed in market research and cautious, incremental growth. Jobs was an artist who believed in intuition, in creating products so revolutionary that customers didn't even know they wanted them yet. Their conflict came to a head over the Macintosh. The Mac was Jobs' baby. It was a work of art, but it was expensive and commercially disappointing in its first year. Sculley, backed by the board, wanted to rein Jobs in. He wanted to focus on the more profitable but less innovative Apple II. The tension escalated into a full-blown power struggle. Jobs tried to orchestrate a coup to oust Sculley. Sculley found out. He went to the board and presented them with a choice. It's him or me. The board, composed of the very investors who valued stability over visionary chaos, sided with the professional CEO they had hired. In May of 1985, Steve Jobs was stripped of all his operational duties. He still had the title of chairman, but it was an empty one. He had no team, no projects, no power. He was an exile in his own company. Humiliated, he would resign a few months later. The kid who started a revolution in a garage had been kicked out of the palace he built. It's over. Just like that. The company I bled for, the people I hired, the dream I built from nothing, gone. They actually did it. Sculley, the man I brought in, the man I trusted. He chose his spreadsheets over the soul of the company, and the board, they chose him. They chose stability. They chose beige. They chose to sell sugar water. The humiliation, it's a physical feeling, like a hot poker in my gut. The whole world is watching. The kid genius gets kicked out of his own sandbox. They'll write about this for years, the failure. The arrogant founder who flew too close to the sun. Is that what I am? Was I too harsh? Too demanding? Did I push them too hard? A wave of anger. No, I pushed them to be great. I demanded they be artists, not just engineers. And we were. The Macintosh. It's the most beautiful thing we ever made. It's a work of art. They just didn't get it. They looked at the sales numbers for the first year and panicked. They don't see the long game. They can't see the dent we were about to make in the universe. Now it's just another computer company, a wave of despair and emptiness. So what now? I'm 30 years old. I'm already a has-been. What am I without Apple? It was my identity, my life's work. I wake up in the morning and there are no problems to solve, no teams to inspire, no future to invent. It's just empty, a void. I poured everything into it, and now the container is gone, and I'm just spilled all over the floor. A tiny, defiant spark begins to glow. But what if this isn't an ending? It feels like one. But what if it's a beginning? the heaviness, the weight of being Steve Jobs, founder of Apple. It's gone. I don't have to uphold a legacy. I don't have to manage thousands of people. I can just build things again. Like in the garage. I can be a beginner. The lightness of being a beginner again, it's liberating. I can be curious. I can follow those strange little interests, like I did with calligraphy. No pressure, no expectations. I can just learn and build. Yes, that's it. They didn't fire me, they freed me. This inner monologue, moving from devastation to a defiant spark of hope, is the key to understanding his entire life. He didn't just survive this failure, he used it as fuel. He didn't know it then, but this was the beginning of his most creative period. Let's analyze the 3 core principles of the mindset that turned this public humiliation into his greatest asset. Principle number 1, the freedom of lightness. In his 2005 Stanford speech, Jobs famously said, "The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again." This is a profound psychological shift. Success creates its own prison. You become protective of your legacy, afraid to take risks, burdened by expectations. Failure in its own brutal way sets you free. By losing Apple, Jobs was freed from the pressure of being Steve Jobs, the CEO. He was once again just Steve Jobs, the guy who loves to build cool things. This lightness allowed him to experiment, to follow his curiosity without the weight of a billion-dollar company on his shoulders. He could finally play again. Principle number 2, follow curiosity, not a career path. What did he do next? He didn't try to get another CEO job. He didn't try to build Apple 2.0. He followed his passions. He started Next, a company aimed at building incredibly powerful computers for higher education, a niche he was passionate about. More importantly, he bought a small computer graphics group from George Lucas for $10 million and named it Pixar. At the time, it seemed like a rich man's hobby. No one saw a viable business in computer-animated movies. But Jobs was fascinated by the intersection of technology and storytelling. He wasn't following a strategic career path. He was simply collecting dots, just like he did with that calligraphy class years earlier. He was following his gut, his curiosity, and it was this pointless hobby, Pixar, that would eventually make him a billionaire and teach him more about storytelling and leadership than he ever learned at Apple. Principle number 3, the long game of revenge. Let's be clear, part of Jobs was deeply wounded and wanted revenge. But his revenge wasn't petty. His revenge was success. The next computer was, in many ways, his technological revenge. It was everything he wanted the Mac to be, but couldn't convince the Apple board to build. It was technically brilliant, years ahead of its time. While it failed commercially, the operating system it was built on, Next Step, was so powerful and elegant that it would become the foundation for Apple's future. When Apple bought Next in 1997, they weren't just buying a company to get Steve Jobs back. They were buying the very technology he had perfected in his exile. In a way, Jobs spent 10 years building the lifeboat that would one day save the very ship that had cast him overboard. This is the ultimate lesson in playing the long game. Focus on creating undeniable value, and eventually the world will have no choice but to come back to you. The story of Steve Jobs' exile is not just ancient history, it is a universal story about failure, and it holds 3 incredibly powerful lessons for our own modern lives. First, embrace the lightness of being a beginner. Have you just been laid off? Did a project you poured your heart into just fail? Did you just end a long-term relationship? It's devastating, but in that devastation lies a hidden gift, the freedom from expectations. When you've hit the ground, there's nowhere to go but up. Use this time not to desperately scramble back to where you were, but to be a beginner. Learn that skill you were always curious about. Start that small, pointless project you've been dreaming of. This is your calligraphy class moment. The dots you collect in your darkest hour often become the foundation of your brightest future. Second, your career is not a ladder, it's a jungle gym. We are taught to think of our careers as a linear path, always climbing up. Jobs' story shows us this is a lie. After Apple, he moved sideways into education with Next, and into film with Pixar. These seem like demotions, like distractions, but they were explorations. Don't be afraid to take a step down to learn a new skill, to move to a different industry to satisfy your curiosity, or to take a pay cut for a job that truly fascinates you. The richest careers are not the ones that go straight up, but the ones that explore the widest territory. Finally, make success your revenge. When you are wronged, when you are underestimated, the temptation for petty revenge is strong. But the lesson from Jobs is that the most powerful revenge is not to tear your enemy down, but to build yourself up so high that they become irrelevant. Instead of wasting energy on anger and bitterness, channel that fire into your work. Build a better product, write a better book, become so good at what you do that your success becomes an undeniable, irrefutable statement. Let your work be your vindication. The firing of Steve Jobs in 1985 was not the end of his story. It was the end of the first chapter. It was the painful, necessary plot twist that allowed the hero to be reborn. The man who returned to Apple in 1997 was not the same arrogant kid who had been kicked out. He was tempered by failure. He was enriched by the diverse experiences at Next and Pixar. He had learned about technology, about storytelling, and most importantly, about himself. The story of his exile is the ultimate proof that our lowest moments do not have to define us. They can, in fact, refine us. It teaches us that sometimes the universe has to be broken so that something far more beautiful can be built in its place. The greatest comeback story in business history was not born from a brilliant strategy, but from the simple, human, and incredibly powerful act of starting again.